Hey, can you actually sit still after everything that went down in Tampa? Because I cannot. Welcome back to the channel. And if this is your first time here, subscribe right now, because today we are talking about something that, honestly, had me crying while writing this script. BTS, America, the ARIRANG tour, and one name that has been trending worldwide for the past 24 hours. Park, Jimin. Okay, sit down, grab your tissues, because this video is going to be long, detailed, and absolutely packed with moments that will remind you, Jimin is not a normal human being. Before we get into the concert itself, let me take a moment to give you some context, because this is not just any ordinary concert. The last time BTS went on a major world tour was back in 2021 and 2022 with permission to dance on stage. And after that, they disappeared. Not because of a scandal, not because they ran out of ideas, but because one by one, every single member entered South Korea's mandatory military service. For nearly 4 years, ARMY around the world waited. Waited while streaming each member's solo albums. Waited while creating fan edits. Waited while crying every time a new update came in. And then finally, on March 20th, 2026, BTS dropped their 7th studio album, titled ARIRANG. The album exploded immediately, dominating the Billboard 200 for 2 straight weeks, and the lead single, Swim, shot straight to #1 on the Hot 100. Then on April 9th, 2026, at Goyang Stadium in South Korea, the BTS ARIRANG World Tour officially kicked off. And now, after Seoul and Tokyo, they have landed in America, specifically at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, Florida. This is not just a concert. This is a homecoming, and the entire city of Tampa felt it. Mayor Jane Castor even announced a citywide celebration, lighting up iconic landmarks including Old City Hall and downtown bridges in purple from April 25th through April 29th, 2026. Imagine that. An entire city glowing purple for the Bangtan Boys. And in the middle of all that excitement, there is one person ARMY has been waiting to see perform on American soil for years. Park Jimin. Before Tampa, let's look back at how Jimin performed at the earlier shows, because this is crucial to understanding why the reaction from ARMY in America was so absolutely explosive. On opening night at Goyang Stadium on April 9th, 2026, BTS performed for a full 2.5 hours in the middle of a heavy downpour. I repeat, a heavy downpour. And they still performed, sang, and danced as if the weather was completely irrelevant. Jimin, in that moment, told the crowd that he was already soaked down to his underwear. And instead of stopping, he went even harder. Fans on social media immediately called that moment one of the clearest proofs that Jimin's dedication on stage has absolutely no equal. Then at Tokyo Dome on April 17th and 18th, 2026, Jimin once again proved himself to be one of the greatest performers of his generation. While performing Fire with intense choreography, Jimin unleashed a powerful high note that filled the entire Tokyo Dome, even while breathless from the demanding dance routine. Korean media immediately covered it under the headline, "Silky Voiced Jimin," and the phrase "heavenly vocals" began trending across multiple platforms worldwide. In another moment, Jimin performed Crystal Snow, a song that was added to the set list on the fly, and his soft, emotionally raw delivery swept through tens of thousands of people in Tokyo Dome like a wave. Fans simply could not hold it together. And if that wasn't enough, on the second night in Tokyo, Jimin performed the classic BTS track, Jolio, and fans were stunned to see that his movements were just as sharp as they were over 10 years ago. Someone on Twitter wrote, "This is not a human being. This is the highest form of evolution a performer can reach." And as a final touch that absolutely wrecked everyone, Jimin read a handwritten letter in Japanese, expressing his gratitude to Japanese fans who had waited for him for 8 years. He said, "I am truly happy to be able to meet you all after such a long time. The fact that I could return to the Tokyo Dome after 8 years, all of this is because of you. 8 years, guys. And he still came back. That is not an empty promise. That is real, undeniable love." And finally, we have arrived at the moment you have all been waiting for. April 25th, 2026, Raymond James Stadium, Tampa, Florida. BTS opened the North American leg of the ARIRANG World Tour, and this was the first time in 4 years that BTS had set foot in America for a concert. Even more than that, this was the very first time all 7 BTS members performed together in Florida in the entire history of the group. The concert, featuring a 360-degree stage setup, welcomed tens of thousands of ARMY who had been waiting since the early morning. Many fans camped overnight near the stadium. Tampa Bay Boulevard was closed to vehicles because the BTS merchandise tent line stretched for what felt like miles. And when the stadium lights went dark, and the opening notes of Body to Body from the ARIRANG album began to play, a traditional Korean folk melody fused with a modern, thundering beat, the entire stadium erupted. ARMY in Tampa were not just an audience. They were part of the show itself. Weverse light sticks lit up purple in every direction, painting a sight that local media described as a sea of light unlike anything they had ever seen. And standing at the center of it all, on a 360-degree stage surrounded by pyrotechnics and hundreds of LED panels. Jimin, guys, I need to be honest with you. Every time I read fan accounts from people who were there in person and watched the fan cams circulating online, I get chills. Because Jimin did not just perform well that night. He performed like someone who knew this was one of the most important moments of his entire life. Every movement was precise. Every note was controlled. Every expression was crafted to reach even the fans sitting in the very last row of the stadium. The setlist that night included 23 songs, from brand new ARIRANG tracks like Swim, Hooligan, Merry Go Round, and Come Over, to legendary hits like Fake Love, Dynamite, Butter, Mic Drop, Not Today, and Idol. And every single time Jimin's part came around, the stadium screamed louder. Okay, now we get into the part you have all been waiting for. The specific Jimin moments from the American concert that had ARMY completely falling apart. Moment number 1. When Jimin spoke directly to American ARMY. In the middle of the concert, there was a moment where each member addressed the crowd personally. And when it was Jimin's turn, he stood at the edge of the circular stage, looking out at tens of thousands of ARMY faces surrounding him. And he said, "It has been such a long time since we could meet like this. We worked so hard for this moment. I hope you are enjoying it." Simple? Yes. But in the context of 4 years of waiting, those words absolutely shattered the hearts of thousands of people who were there. Videos of the audience in tears at that exact moment went viral within hours across TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Moment number 2. Fake Love and the wave of collective emotion. When BTS performed Fake Love, one of the most iconic songs from the Love Yourself era, something extraordinary happened. The crowd did not just sing, they felt it. Many fans who had followed BTS since 2018, 2019, even from the very beginning, felt that song like a time capsule. Memories of their youth, memories of difficult times, memories of BTS being the companion that stayed with them through joy and pain alike. And Jimin, who has always delivered that song with an emotional intensity unlike any other member, turned it into a cathartic moment for thousands of people that night. A fan from a popular Twitter account wrote, "I don't know why I started crying when Fake Love began. Maybe because 4 years felt like forever. And now they're here. Jimin is here." Moment number 3. When ARMY sang every single word of Swim. Swim, the lead single from ARIRANG that had already spent 4 weeks at #1 on the Hot 100, was performed midway through the show. And what was extraordinary was that the entire stadium already knew every single word. The album had only been released less than 5 weeks before the Tampa show, but ARMY had memorized that song as if they had been living with it for years. Jimin stood at the end of a catwalk that extended deep into the crowd, looked out at the ocean of purple light sticks, and smiled. In that moment, Jimin smiling in the middle of a stadium full of ARMY, singing his song back to him at full volume, became the image that went viral around the entire world. Moment number 4. The encore that made everyone refuse to leave. At the very end of the concert, all 7 BTS members sat together at the edge of the circular stage. This is a BTS tradition, an unscripted moment where they share their honest thoughts about the night that just happened. And Jimin, with a voice that trembled slightly, said that the night felt like home because ARMY was there. The concert closed with Please as a serenade to ARMY, and Into the Sun as a farewell, followed by a Tampa sky lit up by fireworks. Outside the stadium, Hundreds of fans who didn't have tickets had gathered just to listen from a distance, transforming their disappointment into something that felt, against all odds, deeply romantic and full of love. Before we close out, there is one thing we absolutely cannot ignore, and it has been a burning topic in the global ARMY community ever since the Goyang and Tokyo shows. The hashtag Show Jimin Properly has been trending across multiple platforms. Thousands of ARMY have been complaining that the official livestream cameras and cinema broadcast feeds consistently cut away to other members exactly when Jimin is performing his main vocal parts or center dance moments. One of the most widely retweeted posts read, "We are tired of the poor camera work during Jimin's parts. He is a main dancer and a top-tier performer, yet the camera consistently misses his center moments." There was even a fan cam moment where Jungkook was visibly trying to get the cameraman to redirect their attention toward Jimin while he was singing, showing that even fellow members are aware of just how important it is for Jimin to be captured properly. HYB and Big Hit Music have not issued an official response as of today. But ARMY is clearly not going to stay quiet, and the pressure from the community will very likely push for changes in camera direction for the remaining American shows. Because one thing is certain, Jimin deserves to be captured perfectly. Okay, here is the good news. For anyone who didn't get to see BTS in Tampa, this is far from over. The ARIRANG World Tour still has an enormous North American schedule ahead. After Tampa, BTS is heading to El Paso in Texas, Stanford and Las Vegas in California, and then continuing through cities including Chicago, East Rutherford, and Toronto, all the way through September 2026, closing out the North American leg with 4 nights at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. And Europe, Latin America, Australia, and Southeast Asia are still waiting after that. This is the biggest tour in BTS history, over 85 dates across 34 cities and 23 countries. With a 360-degree stage, 23 songs every single night, and 2 rotating surprise song slots that change with every show, no 2 nights are ever exactly the same. For tickets, most dates sold out within hours of going on sale. But resale tickets are still available through platforms like StubHub and Game Time, though prices vary depending on the city and the seating. If you genuinely want to go, keep checking. Tickets do tend to surface closer to show dates. Guys, honestly, I wrote this script with a smile on my face. And sometimes with tears I was barely holding back. Because behind all the hype, all the trending topics, all the viral ARMY reactions, there is something much deeper than any of that. BTS left. They fulfilled their duty as citizens of their country. And they came back, stronger, more mature, and with music that runs deeper than ever before. And Jimin, who has always been called one of the most expressive and emotionally raw performers on any stage, arrived in America with something that simply cannot be manufactured: genuine longing, real love, and art that comes from the very bottom of the heart. The ARIRANG World Tour is not just a concert series. It is a declaration that BTS, and Jimin in particular, never truly went anywhere. They were simply preparing to give everything they had. And after everything that happened in Tampa, I think they have already proven it. If you watched this concert, whether you were there in person, watched it at a cinema, or experienced it through fan cams, drop a comment below and tell me, which Jimin moment hit you the hardest? I want to hear your stories. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because I will be covering the ARIRANG Tour every step of the way for months to come. Until the next one, stay purple, ARMY. Purple Heart.